Today I would like to introduce Linux. For those of you who are new to computing, you should have heard of Linux, but probably don't know much about the details of its features. So, Linux is an open source operating system. I would like to start with a brief explanation of what an operating system is. An OS is a software that directly manages a system's hardware and resources, like CPU, memory, and storage. The OS sits between applications and hardware, and makes connections between all of your software and the physical resources that do the work. Now, let's figure out how Linux works in an operating system. Think about an OS like a car engine. An engine can run on its own, but it becomes a functional car when it's connected with the transmission, axles, and wheels. Without the engine running properly, the rest of the car won't work. Linux was designed to be similar to Unix, but has evolved to run on a wide variety of hardware from phones to supercomputers. Every Linux-based OS involves a Linux kernel, which manages hardware resources, and a set of software packages that make up the rest of the operating system. Organizations can also choose to run their Linux OS on a Linux server. The OS includes some common core components like the GNU tools, among others. This tool gave the user a way to manage the resources provided by the kernel, install additional software, configure performance and security settings, and more. All of these tools bundled together make up the functional operating system. Because Linux is an open source OS, combinations of software can vary between Linux distributions. As slide shows, the main features of Linux include free and open source, shared command line interface, portable environment, end-to-end encryption, frequent new updates, and lightweight infrastructure. In order to make these features of Linux clear, let's compare it with the mainstream operating system, Windows. So, this table lists some of the major differences. Due to time constraints, I won't go into detail on each one, but I will provide some basic understanding. Linux is open source and free, meaning that no computer needs to pay to install it. In fact, many of us install drawer systems or Linux virtual machines on Windows or Mac OS, and its open source nature allows the community of developers to continually improve it. Operating systems such as Windows, on the other hand, have to be purchased for a fee, generally by the brand that makes the computer, and their code is not publicly available, leaving them to be developed and maintained only by hired technical teams. In addition, the main difference between Linux and Windows is that Linux is a microkernel architecture, while Windows uses a macrokernel architecture. You can search for difference between these two architectures by yourself, which is important for you to learn the operating system in the future. As we can see from the table, Linux has a great advantage over Windows in the area of technology development, which is why all computer science students will be proficient in it. And that is the purpose of my presentation, to give a brief introduction to Linux before you learn it systematically.